Daniel Suarez gets hit with the penalty for hitting Alex Bowman on pit road after the race on Sunday, and NASCAR is not happy with how the appeals panel decided the Hendrick Motorsports case. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Last night, the National Motorsports Appeals Panel made a very consequential decision in the Hendrick Motorsports versus NASCAR case. They returned all the points. Hundreds of driver and owner points, playoff points. The most painful part of the L2 penalty NASCAR levied against Hendrick has been erased by the independent National Motorsports Appeals Panel. I gave you guys my initial reaction last night, but this morning I want to read you Hendrick Motorsports' statement, and then more importantly, I want to read NASCAR's statement. Let's start with Hendrick Motorsports' response to yesterday's ruling. We are grateful to the National Motorsports Appeals Panel for their time and attention. Today's outcome reflects the facts, and we are pleased that the panel did the right thing by overturning the points penalty. It validated our concerns regarding unclear communication and other issues we raised. We look forward to focusing on the rest of our season, beginning with this weekend's race at Richmond. That statement comes from Rick Hendrick, owner of Hendrick Motorsports. They're pleased with the outcome. They won. Yeah, the crew chiefs are suspended for a couple more weeks, but they can call these races remotely. And sure, $100,000 per car, that's real money, but it's a small price to pay for invaluable research and development. A huge W for Hendrick Motorsports here. There's no other way to slice it. NASCAR made it very clear in their statement last night that they are not happy with the result. Here's what NASCAR said last night. We are pleased that the National Motorsports Appeals Panel agreed that Hendrick Motorsports violated the rulebook. However, we are disappointed that the entirety of the penalty was not upheld. A points penalty is a strong deterrent that is necessary to govern the garage following rulebook violations, and we believe that it was an important part of the penalty in this case and moving forward. We will continue to inspect and officiate the NASCAR garage at the highest level of scrutiny to ensure a fair and level playing field for our fans and the entire garage. So, kind of like I said yesterday, I don't know all the facts. You don't know all the facts. We don't know exactly what kind of hard evidence Hendrick Motorsports presented the appeals panel yesterday. We don't know, and likely will never know, exactly why the appeals panel settled on the decision they did. Was it simply, hey, Hendrick does have evidence of unclear communication from NASCAR? Was it, hey, the louvers weren't used in competition, they were caught before qualifying, before the race, so the penalty should be less? Was this the appeals panel acknowledging that some of these single source parts are showing up to the teams out of spec? We don't know for sure, and we likely never will. What I do know is that it's very weird that the appeals panel basically said, yeah, Hendrick Motorsports broke the rules. But I guess they didn't break them quite as badly as other teams have in the past. So we'll just rescind most of the penalty, not the whole thing. Honestly, I would have rather the appeals panel overturn the entire call. Throw out the points penalty, throw out the fine, throw out the suspensions. I would have rather the appeals panel done that, because that would have told us that, oh, Hendrick Motorsports had hard evidence that actually proved their innocence. Instead, the appeals panel found Hendrick Motorsports guilty and still let him off the hook. That completely undermines NASCAR's authority. And you kind of heard it in NASCAR's statement there, but for the next gen car to be successful, NASCAR has to be able to police it very strictly. Hendrick Motorsports found a loophole, and I can guarantee you that the other teams, the other big teams especially, are currently scouring the rulebook, scouring emails, whatever they can to find their own loophole. With this ruling from the appeals panel, I won't be surprised if we end up exactly where we were pre-next gen, with teams spending ridiculous amounts of money to find minuscule performance advantages, to find that loophole. That's what you got to do to keep up with the other super teams. If you don't spend the money to find that advantage, Hendrick will, Gibbs will, Penske will. The next gen was supposed to even the playing field. A team like Spire Motorsports can never spend as much as Hendrick. But with the next gen being largely a spec car, they wouldn't have to. They could still be more competitive. With this ruling, I expect Hendrick and other big teams to spend lots of money to find more loopholes similar to this one, and we'll be right back to where we were pre-next gen, and I do not think that is good for the health of the sport where it is now. I understand NASCAR was built on innovation, was built on finding the gray areas and exploiting them. When the next gen was introduced, that part of the culture was meant to go away. Not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that was the purpose of the next gen. This decision yesterday by the appeals panel threatens everything the next gen was supposed to stand for, and that is not good for NASCAR. That undermines NASCAR's authority, and that could have an impact on the health and sustainability of large portions of the industry, of the garage. I'm going to move on. Let's talk about Trackhouse. First, Justin Marks on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio this week teased that they already have the next Project 91 driver lined up.
It's going to be a cool program. It's going to be somebody that has got very, very different experience from NASCAR, but in some ways is actually perfectly suited for a cup race. This is somebody that's not raced in America very much at all, but I think is going to go to this particular race and be able to make some real noise. So I'm excited about that.
I've seen a lot of folks suggest it could be someone from the Australian supercars ranks, and this tweet from Adam Stern of Sports Business Journal seems to back those rumors up. Stern mentions that driver Shane Van Gisbergen is a Project 91 candidate. So I'd say that certainly lends some credibility to those rumors, but let me know down in the comments below. Do you think SVG will get the call? What other drivers, realistically, would you like to see race Project 91 later this year, and at what tracks? The bigger Trackhouse news yesterday was Daniel Suarez. NASCAR handed Daniel Suarez a $50,000 fine for making contact with Alex Bowman's car on pit road after Sunday's race at COTA. You can see the clip right there, a couple of bumps to the back of the 48 with officials and other crew members standing not too far away. I went back and looked at a few similar incidents that I could remember from the past decade or so. Ty Gibbs last year at Martinsville got fined $15,000 for bumping Sam Mayer on pit road after the race. This was before the whole fight broke out. NASCAR didn't fine Gibbs for the fight, it was for the contact with Mayer's car. $15,000, of course, fines are typically scaled down for Xfinity and trucks. They're less than what Cup Series drivers get. In 2014, remember when Brad Keselowski was mad at everyone and everyone was mad at Brad Keselowski at Charlotte? He got a $50,000 fine for running into Matt Kenseth and Tony Stewart's cars on pit road. Tony Stewart, once he jammed that thing in reverse and backed into Keselowski, he got a $25,000 penalty. No point penalties for any of those incidents. Now last year, during a race, not after race, during a race, Ty Gibbs got a $75,000 fine and a 25 owner point penalty for swerving into Ty Dillon on pit road. Again, that was during a race, and I think even NASCAR cited at the time that Gibbs was kind of a repeat offender. The Martinsville deal had already happened earlier in the season in the Xfinity Series, so I think they maybe upped the penalty in this case because it was his second offense. Focusing on what Daniel Suarez did this weekend, it's dumb. It was dumb to put other people's safety potentially at risk because you're mad at somebody. Daniel Suarez made a bad decision. And what makes it worse is that he had a long time to think about it. He had a lot of time to maybe cool off, have some sense knocked into him, because the incident he was mad about, when Ross Chastain and Alex Bowman got together, Briscoe was there as well, that was the first overtime restart, I think. From the moment the incident occurred to the moment Suarez got mad on pit road, that was like probably 20 or 30 minutes at least. That's a long time for cooler heads to prevail, but I mean, you could hear it on the cool down lap. NASCAR posted this clip. Suarez was still not happy.
Can't wait to get to a 48 under one. I kick that out.
Suarez also confronted his teammate Ross Chastain after the race. I thought Justin Marks' comments, again on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, were pretty interesting.
I'll tell you, I mean, I'd rather have two guys mad about losing than two guys that get out of the car and go, oh, well, we'll go to Richmond.
I agree with them. There's a lot of passion within the walls of Trackhouse, and I think more times than not, that's a good thing. My opinion on the $50,000 fine, I think it's very consistent with similar calls NASCAR has made in the past. However, I do think in the future, NASCAR should at least consider maybe a small points penalty as well. I know Suarez didn't go in and just T-bone Alex Bowman on pit road, but still bumping someone with pedestrians 10, 15 feet away, that's dangerous. That should be taken very seriously. And this tweet from Daniel Suarez, which, granted, very funny tweet, that tells me that maybe Suarez isn't getting the message NASCAR wants him to receive. Like, if NASCAR had sent a stronger message, I don't know that Daniel would be joking about it on Twitter. So, right call, considering precedent, but maybe in the future NASCAR considers upping that penalty just slightly. Just a handful of points. That'll get not only the driver, but also the team's attention and maybe get them to slap some sense into their guy. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. How do you feel about that penalty? How do you feel about the comments from NASCAR and Hendrick Motorsports after the appeal decision yesterday? Lots going on. I'm both looking forward to, but also kind of dreading the two appeals that are taking place next week. Denny Hamlin has a hearing. Colleague Racing has their hearing. I'm serious, NASCAR could go 0 for 3 in appeals over the course of a week. And while that would be really entertaining to talk about, I don't think that's great overall for the sport. Like, NASCAR does need to maintain some level of authority. They can't have this independent appeals panel making all the decisions for them. Say what you will about the sanctioning body, I've disagreed with many of their officiating decisions in recent years. But I still think it's best if they're the ones enforcing their own rule book. That's what I think, but I want to know what you think down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like. It helps the channel out a ton. And if you're new and you love NASCAR, season's in full swing. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any future content. Thank you as always to my Patreon supporters for your very generous and consistent and continued support. Got some fun projects in the works I can't wait to share with y'all, hopefully soon. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Take it easy, y'all.